and welcome back to the Bodyful Minds Podcast. Today I want to talk about something that shows up again and again for high-achieving mothers, especially in conversations about mental load, responsibility, and partnership. Defensiveness. And I don't want to talk about it as a flaw or a communication problem or something you need to fix. As so often, I want to talk about what defensiveness actually reveals. Because when defensiveness shows up, it's not random. It's not immaturity, and it's not resistance to change. It's information. So as you listen today, I want you to hold these sentences quietly in the background. Your system is discerning. Your reactions are information, not obstruction. And you don't need to override this. You need to understand it. For many couples, defensiveness shows up most clearly around mental load. Who does what? Who remembers what? Who carries the invisible tasks? Who is busier? Whose work is more urgent? Whose exhaustion counts? And very quickly, what could be a practical conversation turns into something else entirely. And that is why the new spreadsheet, the additional spreadsheet, whatever you do to organize it better, doesn't work. Because it's a subtle competition, a comparison of effort, a fear of being seen as the one who isn't doing enough. Often both partners become defensive at the same time. From outside, this can look like stubbornness or unwillingness to collaborate. But if we slow down, something more accurate appears. Defensiveness here is rarely about the task itself. It's about competence, contribution, and worth. For high-achieving women especially, getting things done has long been part of how competence is demonstrated. Being reliable, being efficient, being responsible, anticipating needs, making sure nothing important drops. So when conversations about redistributing mental load come up, they don't just land on logistics. They land on identity. And here's something important to name clearly. She shouldn't have to ask for help, because it was never all her responsibility to begin with. She didn't carry more because she wanted control. She carried more because things needed to be done. And because she knew that if they weren't done well, she would be the one measured against the outcome. She's often willing to let things go, but letting go isn't neutral when the standard applied to you is higher. So the internal question doesn't sound like, if I say I need help. They sound more like this. If I loosen my grip, will this still be done properly? If it isn't, will I be the one judged for it? If I stop compensating, will the cost land on me? And of course, will my kids miss out on something that actually matters to them as a result? Because she's not just managing tasks. She's safeguarding experiences, continuity, emotional needs. The things that don't show up on the to-do list, but matter deeply to the children and to her. And she knows that if those things fall through, she will feel it first and often be held responsible for it. Layered on top of all of this is a nervous system that has been in constant on mode for years. Always scanning, always anticipating, always preventing things from tipping. That level of vigilance becomes associated with competence, with efficiency, with being on top of things. It becomes part of how she knows herself. So when the system starts to tire or when she even considers stepping back, it can trigger a much deeper fear. If I start operating like this, am I still sharp? Am I still capable? Still efficient? Have I lost my edge? That doubt isn't coming from weakness. It's coming from a system that has been doing too much for too long without shared backup. And in that context, defensiveness isn't resistance to change. It's protection of standards, of integrity, of her children, and of a sense of self that has been carrying a lot. Over time, something else often happens too. She doesn't just feel stretched. She starts to doubt herself, her standards, her expectations, her sense of what's reasonable. She thinks, are my standards actually too high? Am I expecting too much? If I can do this, surely he can too. So why does this keep turning into conflict? And slowly she becomes the one who feels like the problem, the one who is always annoyed, the one who is complaining, the one who is never satisfied. Meanwhile, her partner may retreat with something like, but I never do it right anyway. I'm never good enough for you. And that hurts, because on the surface it sounds like vulnerability, but underneath it often shuts the conversation down. And here's the crucial discrepancy. That feeling of never good enough exists inside the relationship, while society sends him the opposite message. Fathers are praised for participation. Mothers are evaluated for perfection. Dads who do the bare minimum are often seen as exceptional. Mums can do almost everything and still feel like they're falling short. So the conflict isn't really about effort. It's about being measured by different standards, and that erodes self-trust. This is where body awareness becomes transformative, not because it makes everything calm, but because it creates space. When you're constantly bracing, there's no room to reflect. You're just trying to keep things running, keep things acceptable, keep things from tipping. But when you're more grounded in your body, something changes. You gain enough steadiness to step back and ask, whose standards am I actually living by? Which ones make sense for me and for us? Which ones support the life we want to live? And which ones are simply societal expectations that are enforced unevenly? Body awareness doesn't give you the answers, but it allows you to ask these questions without immediately doubting yourself or fearing that you're dropping the ball. And that opens an entirely different kind of conversation. This is where many families get stuck, not because they disagree, but because the standards have never been examined together. Take something as simple as tidiness as an example. A family might genuinely agree we're okay with a less tidy home. We value ease, presence, and time more than appearances. And yet, when visitors come, the tension returns. Why? Because even if everyone in the family, in the home, is fine with a mess, mum is the one who will be judged for it. Not hypothetically, in real life. So the question becomes not, we should care less what people think, but given that you're the one being evaluated here, how do you want us to handle this? And from there, teamwork becomes possible. Sometimes that means everyone pitches in before guests arrive, not because the house must be perfect, but because one person shouldn't carry the social cost alone. Sometimes it means the house stays imperfect, and the dad is the one who says, sorry for the mess, we didn't get around to tidying everything up, or even playfully, welcome, we've kept the toys out so everyone knows it's okay to play. Those moments matter because they redistribute more than tasks. They redistribute exposure, judgment, and responsibility for how the family is perceived. That's not living in a bubble. That's navigating reality consciously as a team. Someone who is grounded in themselves, in their body, can do something crucial in these moments. They can pause, take a break, create space. Not to dominate the conversation, not to fix everything, but to guide it back to what matters. Away from who is failing, who is doing enough, who is more exhausted, toward what matters to us right now. What standards actually support our family, not just keep it running? What do we want our kids to learn about care, responsibility, and teamwork? That's not weakness. That's leadership, rooted in self-trust rather than self-defense. If defensiveness has been showing up more in your life lately, at home or at work, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not becoming less capable. You are not becoming more discerning. Your system is no longer willing to uphold standards alone or at your own expense without questioning them. That's not regression. That is growth. Your reactions are information. Your system is discerning. You don't need to override this. You need to understand it. As you move through the week, here's a simple invitation. The next time defensiveness shows up, yours or someone else's, pause and ask, what is this protecting? What standard is at play here? And how could we meet this as a team? You don't need perfect words. You don't need to solve everything at once. Staying in the conversation, staying connected with each other, with yourself and with your partner is enough. If this episode resonated, sharing it or leaving a review helps other mothers find their way here. And if you want to explore how body awareness supports shared mental load, grounded ambition, and self-trust, the Bodyful Minds Podcast is here for you. Until next time, more you, not more to do.